We've all seen funerals. We've all seen cemeteries. Where do they come from? What was it like before that? Those are things many of us don't know.
Death must be the greatest of all human blessings.
I have had great concerns about the conditions of the cemeteries and the failures of the city to do what is needed.
In cultures such as Mesopotamia, tombs and graves were cut out of the ground for the purpose of the soul of the person reaching the afterlife easier, because it was thought that the afterlife was underground. In ancient times, graves were usually marked with a stone saying the person's name, an elaborate tomb, or megalithic stone dolmens, passage graves, or cairns, which are usually found in Scotland and Ireland. Before cemeteries, corpses would be buried in little holes in the ground. The corpses would be curled up and shoved in there, sometimes with other people's remains. This wasn't the best arrangement because not only was it disrespectful for the deceased, but a person or animal could easily dig it up later, leaving the rotting corpse free to spread its germs and diseases. So, if we still did things this way, we could have had a whole new epidemic caused by germs of rotting corpses. During the Civil War, the soldiers' corpses would be buried in giant soldier cemeteries, or sent home and buried in their family's backyard or some other place in their hometown. Now, corpses are buried in fancy caskets deep in the ground. They are generally buried in the town they died, unless the family decides otherwise. We have funerals for them and bury them in cemeteries, sometimes with their family members. Cemeteries have been getting fancier, with park-like atmospheres that make you feel more comfortable while visiting your loved ones. And, with cell phones everywhere, some people may feel more comfortable if they could sit down and enjoy their phones. Maybe cemeteries will start putting up free Wi-Fi to attract more visitors. Another option is cremation, which has been around as long as death has. Back in ancient times, long before we had cemeteries, it was a ritual to certain cultures to burn the bodies of the deceased, along with some of the deceased's treasured possessions or tokens of honor. The Romans were one of those cultures. They would cremate their emperors by releasing an eagle above the cremation pyre to represent the passing of the emperor god's spirit and the emperor's deification. People put the ashes of a cremated person in an urn and either display it or bury it in a cemetery. Though all these changes and improvements are helpful and more respectful, they have their downsides. Dying costs your family a lot more than just emotional pain. The average funeral expenses, as of 2017, are between $7,000 and $10,000. You pretty much have to pay to die. So you won't be the only thing your family cries over when you pass. There are 36 cemeteries in Auburn, Maine. Those are Dillingham Hill Cemetery, Tabor Farm Cemetery, Dill Cemetery, Briggs Cemetery, Evergreen Cemetery, Oak Hill Cemetery, Fletcher Road Cemetery, Rumford Junction Cemetery, Fitz Cemetery, Wag Cemetery, Old Hotel Road Cemetery, Pine Stump Cemetery, Libby Hill Cemetery, Libby Waterhouse Cemetery, Plummer Cemetery, William Plummer Cemetery, Ben Gordon Cemetery, Small Cemetery, Gracelawn Memorial Park, Auburn Plains Cemetery, Beth Abraham Cemetery, Brookville Cemetery, Davis Cemetery, Layton Cemetery, McKinney Cemetery, McKinney-Murray Cemetery, Mountain View Cemetery, Penley Corner Cemetery, Pine Street Cemetery, Beth Jacobs Cemetery, also known as Temple Shalom Synagogue Cemetery, Union Cemetery, Mount Auburn Cemetery, North Auburn Cemetery, Poor Farm Cemetery, Brookville Cemetery, and Butler Hill Cemetery. That may seem like a lot, but just think of what it would be like if we had less, or worse, had none. We would have dead bodies just lying around, or we would have tons of unmarked graves in random spots, which could be bad if someone goes digging for some reason. It's not going to kill you if you are around a dead body, but if you touch a dead body, you could be in trouble. Auburn's first cemetery was in the middle of Auburn. It was established in 1835 when Edward Little donated the land. In 1863, there was no room for expansion, so the bodies were removed and the land was auctioned off. This wasn't the best choice, as they could have left it and created a new cemetery. That would have been cheaper because they likely paid people to dig up the holes and remove the bodies, and much easier. Not only that, but taking rotting bodies out of the ground is unhealthy and could spread diseases. Auburn's earliest cemeteries after that were Auburn Plains Cemetery, Briggs Cemetery, Brookville Cemetery, Davis Cemetery, Dillingham Cemetery, Evergreen Cemetery, Fletcher Road Cemetery, North Auburn Cemetery, and Tabor Farm Cemetery. Some of the cemeteries in Auburn were moved in 1925 by Dillingham and Son Undertakers in Auburn, Maine. Those cemeteries are Dillingham Cemetery, which was on North River Road and is now in North Auburn, and Knapp Cemetery, which was on North River Road and is now on Summer Street section, lot number 240, and is called Mount Auburn Cemetery, and some of those bodies were moved to Dill Cemetery on North River Road. Layton Cemetery is filled with people of the Layton family, including Elias H. Layton, who was born on the 9th of March, 1799, and died on the 22nd of December, 1891, and had 3 children. His wife, Lucinda Frank Layton, who was born on March 12, 1808, and died on January 30, 1881, and had 3 children and 5 siblings, and Matilda N. Layton, who died on the 27th of September, 1847, after only 1 year and 8 months of life. Mount Auburn Cemetery, which is a much larger cemetery, is comprised of 3 parts. The first part is called Gowell because it is in the Gowell district. Gowell was started in 1805. The second part is Mount Auburn, which was incorporated in 1875. The third part is Lakeview, which did not last long. It is the final resting place of John M. Littlefield, son of Willie R. G. Littlefield and Minnie Sturgis, and husband of Ethel Berry, who was born on the 30th of July, 1890 in Auburn, Maine, and died on the 9th of December, 1881 in Jacksonville, Florida, and Iola M. Garcelon Tuttle, daughter of Charles E. Garcelon and Melissa Jordan, and wife of Benjamin L. Tuttle, whom she married on the 25th of February, 1891 in Auburn, Maine, who was born on the 15th of August, 1868 in Webster, Maine, and died on the 7th of May, 1952 in Auburn, Maine. She had 1 child named Kathleen H. Tuttle Jakes. William Plummer Cemetery, in a field behind Richard's greenhouses, is a large cemetery missing many headstones. It holds William Plummer, who died on October 29, 1838 at 83, who is a Revolutionary War veteran. His headstone said, "Blessed my slumber in this house of clay, bright my rising on the eternal day." And Abigail Jordan Plummer, who died on January 27, 1838, at 80 years old. On her headstone is, "Depart my friends, dry up your tears, I must rest here till Christ appears." Plummer Cemetery, a cemetery filled with people of the Plummer family, holds Hannah Plummer, wife of Thomas J. Plummer, who died on February 24, 1880, at 83 years, 10 months, Emma W. Plummer, daughter of Thomas J. and Hannah Plummer, who died on August 26, 1860, at 21 years and 8 months, Minnie B. Plummer, daughter of W. and E. Plummer, born on 1865 and died in 1941, Jane McKinney, wife of Chas D. McKinney, who died on June 9, 1864, at 39 years old, and Mary E. Gardner, daughter of Almond J. and Maria Gardner, who died on January 31, 1863, at 2 years, 1 month, and 19 days. The cemetery is pretty small. We don't get many visitors, but it's really nice being buried with your family. And even the people that you don't really get along with, it'd be awful to be separated from them for eternity. Sure, there are some things I miss, my friends and other people, but it's really nice to have a break, you know? And I have all my family again, which is nice, and I get some rest. If there was no Plummer Cemetery, I wouldn't be buried with my family. I'd miss them a lot, and there would be more people in other cemeteries, which means it would really change how they looked. The Plummer Cemetery will probably be much worse in the future, and who knows if there are more people coming. It's not the best right now, and I don't really think anyone's going to come and fix it up, unless they decide to take the time to go and actually pick it up and fix everything. Tabor Farm Cemetery, directly across from a golf course, is a cemetery owned by the Tabor family. In it is Converse D. Balster, only child of Luther H. and Betty Balster, who died on the 16th of December, 1863. John Alex Monroe, a member of the graduating class of Harvard, who died on the 2nd of January, 1846 at 24 years in Cambridge, Massachusetts. Almiron Whitman, who died on July 1st, 1852, son of Prudence Whitman. And Willis James, a Revolutionary War veteran, who died on the 17th of July, 1830, at 69 years old. Just before the Durham town line lies the Union Cemetery. In it lies many people, including Isaac Lambert Deacon, born in Abington on the 9th of March, 1771, and died in Auburn on the 28th of January, 1861. On his stone is, "I have fought a good fight. Henceforth is laid upon my head a crown of righteousness." And Edith Starbird, daughter of Royal and M.R. Starbird, who died on March 10th, 1879, at 19 years and 10 months. Mountain View Cemetery contains early settlers, many born in the 18th century. The earliest person buried there was Mary Jane, the daughter of John and Betsy Martin, who died on August 18th, 1818, at 4 years old. Oak Hill Cemetery was started in 1851. In 1865, $200 was used to transfer the bodies from the first cemetery to Oak Hill. Some of the people buried there are Frank N. Frangus, son of Nicholas Frangus and Artemis Chakas, and husband of Rebecca Frados, born on the 27th of November, 1928, in Manchester, New Hampshire, and died on the 22nd of November, 2005, in Brunswick, Maine. And Mary Kranatzalis Granitas, daughter of Peter Kranatzalis and Georgia Manathakos, and wife of James D. Granatis, whom she married on October 24th, 1937, born on October 14th, 1913, in Kanakia, Laconia, Greece, and died on September 23rd, 2006, in Lewiston, Maine. Brookville Cemetery, near Lost Valley, was formerly known as Splinterville Cemetery. Poor Farm Cemetery holds the victims of the diphtheria epidemic of 1898. Diphtheria is a highly contagious disease which causes inflammation in the mucous membranes and formation of false membrane in the throat that causes issues with breathing and swallowing, and potentially a fatal heart and nerve damage by bacterial toxin in the blood. It hit Maine hard in 1896 as well as 1735 and 1918. If there had never been a diphtheria epidemic in 1898, we wouldn't have Poor Farm Cemetery. Graceland Memorial Park was established in 1950 as Maine's first crematory. In the early 1960s, it constructed Maine's first community mausoleum. They now also offer a pet cemetery, flower ordering services, rooms you can rent out, and cremation services. The cemetery grounds are open for the public every day, so you can relax in its park-like atmosphere. Many people rest there, including Christina Dudman Atchison, daughter of Alonzo Dudman and Eva Turner, and wife of Richard Atchison, whom she married in 1938, who was born on the 12th of December, 1914, and died on the 29th of December, 2002. Evelyn W. Baker, daughter of Fred and Ethel May Cash, was predeceased by her first husband, Stanley E. Whitmore, and her second husband, Lathrop Baker, who was born on the 29th of March, 1928, and died on the 17th of April, 2002. Marjorie B. Bean, daughter of Leander Carl Oxon and Ruth White, and wife of Pearlie Bean, whom she married on June 4th, 1958, who was born on the 5th of December, 1923, and died on the 6th of March, 2004. And Annie Roy Basil, daughter of Joseph Roy and Ann Currier, and wife of Camille Basil, who was born on April 4th, 1920, and died on December 17th, 2004. Well, the cemetery is pretty nice. The people there are kind. It's absolutely beautiful in the spring. There are plenty of people who here have gone through the same thing I have. And I'm really happy that I was buried here, even if it must have cost my family a fortune. If there was no Graceland Memorial Park, it would be near torture. It's so nice here, and all the other places are so plain and boring. And we have the animals. Where would the animals be buried if not here? And there are so many people here. They would have to make a new cemetery for us, maybe two if they're small. Graceland Memorial Park will only grow. As time passes, it'll probably get nicer. I mean, people are going to want to bury their loved ones in the best place possible, and eventually Graceland will have to expand. And when they do, I'm sure it'll be absolutely brilliant. Batesville is Auburn's casket company. They were established in 1884 as Batesville Coffin Company. John A. Hillenbrand purchased Batesville Coffin Company in 1906 and changed it to Batesville Casket Company. John A. Hillenbrand wanted to become an industry leader in North American funeral products. Batesville Casket Company was originally known for its excellent wooden caskets. Now they have expanded their products to meet the evolving needs of families licensed funeral professionals. Batesville is a leader in the death care industry and continues to deliver well-manufactured caskets today, as well as other funeral products. 1918 began manufacturing metal caskets. 1940 introduced the gasketed casket and first safety sealed hardware. 1954 introduced the memorial record system. 1955 first manufacturer to convert to 100% zinc cast hardware. 1957 introduced lift tilt adjustable bed. 1964 introduced swing bar hardware. 1967 introduced their first embroidery designs. 1973 started their first nationwide distribution system. 1976 introduced their living memorial tree planting program. 1990 added plush interiors. 1991 introduced fail-safe liner metal caskets. 1993 introduced options cremation. 1995 introduced interchangeable casket corners. 1996 introduced memory safe drawer. 2009 introduced life stories caskets and medallions. 2013 changed their name from Batesville Casket to just Batesville. If we didn't have Batesville, Auburn wouldn't have our own funeral company. That would be hard because funeral homes in Auburn would have to order caskets from Lewiston, which would mean paying lots for shipping. Oh, of course, you can't talk about death and burial without talking about the paranormal. They go hand in hand, after all. One supposedly haunted place in Auburn is the Auburn Public Library, where there is said to be sightings of a smiling man lurking around who disappears when they try to look closer. Another is the home on Taft Avenue by Fairview School. One old resident wrote,
As a child, I had hard time sleeping. I always had a feeling of something staring at me while I was sleeping.
They wrote that they would see apparitions in the same house when they were older. They then wrote about the house on Manley Road where, quote,
I woke up once to the voice of a man talking to me.
Another place is 41 Union Street, where, quote, stuff got weird.
I found out after months of living there that previous to me moving in, my landlord's brother lived there and died there.
They claimed there was a lot of tension and negativity in the house. They said that an ashtray was thrown across the room while they were cooking, and they once saw a yellowy white tall figure standing in their bedroom while they were trying to sleep.